following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the QATV staff or board of directors. QATV, in compliance with FCC regulations, is prohibited from exercising control over the content of independent, member-produced public access programming.
Hi there, I'm Krystyne Cheever, and welcome to the All Friends Cabaret. It's the show that connects you. Well, tonight, Michael Brazile is here, and he brought a little something with him. It's a beautiful harpsichord. You're going to be treated tonight to some great music. Michael, thank you in advance for coming on the show.
Sure, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, tell me the name of the song, and we'll let you take it away.
Sure, I'm starting with a wonderful piece by the 17th century French lutenist Edmond Gautier, a piece entitled The Tombeau de Mésango.
Lovely, Michael. Thank you so much.
Sure.
That's so great. Tell me, where are you from?
Sure. So I'm originally from Georgia. I was born in Fort Benning and grew up mostly in the South, but Boston is what I consider home. I actually came here for college. I went to the New England Conservatory of Music.
Okay.
And did my undergraduate degree there in harpsichord and musicology.
Okay, so tell me what got you interested in that as a young, going through grade school and
Sure.
such? Were you involved with other music, and then what got you interested?
Yeah, so I went to a performing arts high school actually in Jacksonville, Florida, where I graduated from. I was a piano major there, and so I'd always loved earlier music, so Bach and music of the Baroque period. But I'd never actually had the chance to try a harpsichord until I was, I guess I was a senior in high school. And I tried it and I fell in love with it and I decided that's what I want to play.
Oh,
instead of the
okay.
piano. Yeah.
All right. And so did you knew piano first? And
I
then
did, right, yes. I started as a pianist and I pretty seriously studied that. And then from there it just kind of went. And like I said, I'd always loved earlier music, Bach and Rameau and that kind of thing, but I'd never actually gotten to play a harpsichord, which is the instrument that their keyboard music was conceived for.
Okay.
So that's how it began. Yeah.
And so tell me what one studies when they're studying musicology.
So musicology, is music history.
Okay.
So it's all aspects of the history of music. So it's a lot of it's basically writing about music. So it's a lot of studying the sources that we have for composers, even including composers, contemporary composers today, but sources of their music. Understanding sort of the cultural context of their music and how it fits into the larger world in which they lived, what kinds of things they might have been trying to express explicitly or implicitly with their music. So it really is, it's the academic side of music.
And was it a certain time period?
So yeah, so in school, so I specialized in 17th century French music is what I really fell in love with.
Okay.
Both as a scholar, as a student scholar in music history, and then that carried over into the harpsichord. I got really into 17th century French lute and harpsichord music.
Right, and
which is not exactly mainstream.
I was gonna say, because you're very packed. Because earlier he's like, I could talk on and on about all this.
Right.
But what is it that excites you? Is it the sound? Is it how the instrument plays?
I think it's everything. I mean, when I first heard the harpsichord, there was just something about it, this sort of ebullient exoticism of a plucked string that just turned me on. And then the French music of the 17th century, the lute music and the harpsichord music,
right.
It just has this. It's very, very dark. As you'll hear, it's very dark music, but also very lyrical, and it is really perfectly suited to the harpsichord and then as well to the lute. So it was just really all of those things combined that sort of drew me to it, and the fact that not a lot of people play 17th century French music these days. Sort of the big stars of the Baroque music are Bach, Handel, Vivaldi,
right?
Which are people, composers that people know pretty well. You can go to BSO and hear those composers with a fair amount of regularity.
And have you done some composing of the music? Have you written your own music or put
I
pieces
haven't,
together?
I haven't written it. No, I'm definitely not a composer. I haven't written anything. But as far as this music goes, so I have sort of assembled. Yeah, I mean, you are sort of free in terms of organizing the pieces. We know historically composers were free to sort of order the music however they wished, and performers were free to do the same things. There was no set order of pieces, if you will, that had to be followed. There was an enormous amount of freedom. And in many ways, the 17th century in France, the French music of this period, the performance practice is very much akin to jazz. It's very much a performer-centered performance practice.
Right, right. So I want to hear another piece.
Sure.
And so tell me which one this is going to be.
So I'll play a courante for you, also by Edmond Gautier. And I just want to point out, it's one of my favorite pieces, but you've got to use something called inégale to really make it expressive. Which I'll just give you a quick example. So if I play it straight, just as it's written, it sounds like this. But to really give it, some life, you've got to play what's called inégale, where you play the eighth notes unequally, so it comes off like this.
Okay. Now, what I did notice in the first piece too, I was like, oh gosh, it has the little, the foot pedal, like a piano. And then I was like, no, he's just keeping, time. No, but that's good because it kind of, it's very rhythmic.
It carries over from the piano,
Yes,
but
yes. Well, let me let you play that piece, and we're looking forward to it.
Okay, fantastic.
So nice, so beautiful.
Thank you.
Tell me about the instrument itself. Now,
Sure.
Michael, this was awesome. You brought this in tonight, and it's just a beautiful instrument. Tell us the pieces about it, because it has a keyboard, but it's not
Right.
like a piano keyboard.
Right.
Tell me all about that.
Right. So the instrument, the strings are plucked instead of being hammered like a piano.
And what does that mean? They're
So it
plucked.
means there's a mechanism inside, which you can see here, called a jack, and on the end of the jack there's what's called a plectrum. And so when you press down the key, it plucks the string. And as long as
Okay.
you hold down the key, the string is allowed to vibrate. But as soon as you let it go, the jack falls back down, and there's a little piece of cloth in there called a damper that actually damps the string.
Okay.
And so that's sort of the main component of the sound. It's really a very simple mechanism.
Right.
As far as the what's important about the harpsichord, I think, to know is that you can't control the volume by touch alone. So no matter how hard you hit the key, you still have the same volume.
You were saying too, the piano is very much different in that way. That if you bang on the piano, it's much louder.
Right,
You can
so
control
you can
the
do
sound.
right. You can do soft and loud. So with the harpsichord, you can't do that. You have to use things like rhythm and time, right, nuance to be able to create expression. You really can't use volume.
Okay, and then you had this built, correct?
I did, yeah. A wonderful maker in Norwich, England, named Alan Gatto actually built it for me.
Okay, and tell me the replica.
Yeah, so it's a neat story. It's actually based on an original instrument that's here in Boston, in the MFA, that was originally built in 1667 in Paris by an anonymous maker. So he based this instrument on that.
Wow,
Yeah, so-
wow. And so you have to be kind of careful with it, right?
So unlike a piano, there's no metal whatsoever inside of it. It's all made of wood, so it's kind of like a
Yes.
big mechanized lute or guitar.
All right.
I would say so. You know, it's very similar to that. So when you're thinking about it in terms of how to make music, how to be expressive with it, that's sort of a better analogy than thinking of it as like a weird-looking piano.
And the thing is that you've got some smaller, like shorter strings here, and then then strings starting, then go all the way down. Tell us the difference
So you have
between
two
that.
sets of strings actually that you can play on it, and so you can actually engage and disengage them here. So you heard the basic sound, I think, but you can add another set of strings, which sounds like this. And so that's actually two sets of strings being plucked simultaneously.
Oh, okay.
So and so larger harpsichords, actually the original that this was copied from, it actually had two keyboards and three sets of strings. So in the 17th and 18th century, they made both types of harpsichords, and we actually know of one very large German instrument that had three keyboards and I think 5 sets of strings. So they
Oh,
could,
wow.
Yeah, so it could be pretty crazy.
Oh, wow. All right, so I'd like to hear another song.
Okay,
If
fair
that
enough.
is, and
Sure.
give me the name